Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
You know, myself personally, I'm excited. I'm excited to get to U.S. Bank Stadium on Sunday and just feel that energy. I already feel it, you know, within the Twin Cities. You know, we gave the guys a little bit of time off this weekend, and you don't have to be out and about long to know that people are excited about this team and excited about, obviously, this game to start it all off. But at the same time, you know, I'm a big routine guy, and with the extra time, that's great. But I'm trying to lock in on what every week's going to be like for me, not only in this role, but as the play caller and making sure I'm at my best for the group.
Let's go. Let's get it. We're back at full strength. Got the executive producer back.
Nice hat.
Who?
Kevin O'Connell.
O'Connell's hat. The black Vikings hat with the logo, none of this crap that Zimmer used to wear. Like that hat, Kevin O'Connell.
Sometimes Judd makes observations on the show and on Maggie and Judd that make sense in your head, but not us. And so I have to ask.
People who saw the hat know exactly what I'm talking about. Zim used to wear some of they forced him to wear those crappy hats with such some goofy designs. No, that's not good.
Do you have to wear a hat that the NFL tells you to each week? Is that how this works?
The league dictates what you wear.
Like this is the hat for the week,
you
and
can't,
this is
yeah. In fact, who was the coach? There was a coach who was talking about that. Who I forget who it was. He said that he like had a hat he liked, and the league's like you can't wear that hat.
I like the Rob Lowe just NFL hat. Just
that's hilarious.
That meme that's been around for like 2 years now.
The shield.
Just football.
That's a great hat.
Just
Loves
NFL.
the shield. Well, who was it? Was it this must be a fairly recent, the hat thing must be fairly recent, because it wasn't like 10 or 15 years ago. Todd Haley used to wear just like a sweated out, crusted hat when he was a coordinator and a coach, right? He would just wear the same grimy hat, I'm pretty sure. Maybe he would just take the fine. So this is my hat.
That's very possible.
Every week.
Very possible.
Anyhow, this is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die at some point. And the show is presented by our friends at Surly Brewing Company and also TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Also, remember, and maybe some of you might be new in the last like 8 or 9 months to Purple Daily here, but starting on Sunday, regular season Vikings Vent Line fires up. It is the most fan-friendly, interactive post-game show on the planet. And if you haven't already checked this out, we literally turn the show over to you guys, the fans, and we are just sort of the straw that stirs the drink. And this show is exclusive to the Purple Daily YouTube channel. For years and years, going back 10 years, it used to be a post-game radio call-in show. It is now a YouTube show right after every Vikings game ends. And we're fired up to bring you guys into the show with us. Also make note, VikingsVentline@gmail.com is where you put your requests in to get on the show. So subscribe to the Purple Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already so that you can be part of the best post-game show, the most interactive, fan-friendly post-game show on the planet. Are you guys ready to pick the Vikings wins and losses for the final time before the regular season starts? To go on the record one last time.
Oh, so we got Wednesdays, write that down, for both general sports and football. And now you're asking me again to put my untarnished reputation on the line right now.
You've been pretty good because you pretty much always pick like a 500 record for the Vikings, and that's kind of what they always are. So I don't know if you're just doing it because it's low-hanging fruit.
The easiest prediction around. No. I got my last time, and now I got my this time. I'm ready to go.
It's a franchise that's a gravitational pull toward 500 with a quarterback that's a gravitational pull toward 500. I think the Vikings average exactly 8.5 wins in the Wilf era going back to 2005. So can Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah break these chains of 500 mediocrity in 2022? I'm gonna go through the schedule here all throughout the games. Let's keep track of our own wins and losses, and then we'll see where we fall at the very end of this thing. Let's do this. Starting in week 1. Home against the Green Bay Packers this Sunday. I just need a win or a loss and any sort of elaboration you would like to give. We got all the time in the world here.
I've actually got a win here, which is consistent with the last time that we did this. I think the Vikings come out of the gate at home hot. They are fresh, healthy, and happy. This, to me, strikes me as an initial oomph for the KOC regime a win.
All right. Yeah, it's a win for me, too. I think the Vikings get off strong. I like starting the season against a rival. I know some people are like, they like to build up to the Packers game. You know, last year it was like mid-November. 2 years ago, they opened, obviously, against the Packers in the pandemic season with no fans. I like that they start with a win here. And I think, honestly, the Packers offense might take a little bit up to speed. Allen Lazard might not even play. So, like, their best receiver, quote-unquote, might not even be active. I think it's going to be a while for that Packers offense to kind of wake up and get comfortable. So I think it's a win at home. 1-0.
So all off season, I have had them starting 0-2 in my mind, but it feels like every step of the way, Green Bay just feels less impressive, and the Vikings feel a little bit more buttoned up. And now that they're depleted wide receiving, and by the way, they got smoked in the opener last year. Wasn't it the Saints that beat them like 30 points or something?
Yes, Jameis.
So
yes,
even with Devontae Adams last year, the Packers were slow coming out of the gate because Rodgers kind of spends his whole offseason disconnecting from football and connecting with the earth or whatever he does. Mm-hmm. So I am switching from a loss in the first week. I agree with you guys. I think they beat the Packers. Kevin O'Connell picks up, and the Vikings will be above 500 for the first time in nearly 1,000 days if that happens. So, all right, win across the board for us.
Look at that positivity.
Week 2, Monday night, extra day to prepare at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm going loss. So I'm going to also, with this game, remain consistent from my previous prediction. Tough place to go play. Philadelphia, I don't think they're great. I think they're going to be good. They were, I think, somewhat of a surprise playoff team last year. This strikes me as just a difficult game that the Vikings don't win. It's not like a big loss. It's probably close, but I don't think I can get this to a win. So 1-1 after 2 games for me.
Okay.
I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but I think the book's now out on him now that he's been a starter for a full season, essentially. And even though he's still a crafty running quarterback who can run a lot, run really well, I think Ed Donatel and Kevin O'Connell have a nice system to shut him down. He won't be as elusive. You know, these running quarterbacks used to give Zimmer fits, even when the Vikings defense was in its heyday. I think Jalen Hurts, although I'm bullish on him, I don't think he'll be as effective early on. I actually have the Vikings winning. I have them going to Philadelphia and getting a rare win. They're 2-0 in my schedule pick.
There's a lot of forces going against the Vikings here. It's a road game, very difficult environment. It's a mobile quarterback. It's Monday Night Football off of a big win if the first week plays out the way that we think. So I think it's a loss, but an unapologetic loss. Like you don't have to feel bad about this loss. So I got them losing in Philadelphia. Home against Detroit, week 3.
Win for me.
Win.
It's a win, but I think Detroit was competitive last year more than their record indicated. Are they going to take another step forward with Dan Campbell getting everyone together?
Dan Campbell.
I don't think these weren't walkover games last year for the Vikings, so they probably won't be this year, but I also have it as a win. And then the Vikings in week 4 travel across the pond to play the New Orleans Saints.
And now you can consider the Minnesota Vikings a hot team. Because I don't love the Saints. The fact that this game is not at the Superdome, to me, is an enormous break. I would far prefer to take the extra long flight to avoid playing in that dome. I have this as a win as well for the Vikings. So at this point in my schedule, 3-1.
Man, the Vikings are red hot. They are 4-0 to start. I'm trying to find the binoculars here. I don't see losses on this schedule yet. It's 4-0 for the Vikings. Yeah. Not having to play in the Superdome is big. Jameis Winston's still kind of a wild card. Like I could see the Saints being a disaster this year, and if Jameis bounces back, maybe they're actually still salvageable. But I think the fact that this game's in London, not in New Orleans, it's a win for the Vikings. So 4-0. Through 4 weeks.
I feel like everyone kind of thinks now that we're past Sean Payton and Drew Brees by a couple of years, that the Saints actually have a really good roster, and that division has a lot of question marks in it. So I think the Saints are going to compete for a playoff spot. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Saints. There's a couple of analytics websites Football Outsiders. You're sleeping on them? Okay.
I'm sleeping on them.
Football Outsiders has them winning the division with all of their analytics that they put into the equation. So I think this is a hard-fought game. I disagree with Declan. I don't think that the Vikings are going to just smooth sail in the first month with Kevin O'Connell. So I think they lose to the Saints in this game.
Declan's young. Declan's young. He's drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm refreshed.
Not surprising.
Played 27 holes.
You're coming off a long break.
Got the dock out of the water
17-0.
yesterday. I'm ready to go.
Dock out of the water. That sounds
Bonding
awful.
experience.
No.
That brings us to a Chicago Bears home game for the Vikings. Instead of a bye, they get the Bears at home, which is kind of like a bye, I guess.
It's perfect, right? The Bears want to lose. Like, as far as I can deduct, the Bears are actively, and you know what? Full credit. You're trying to get a draft pick. So I have the Vikings. I think if you cruise in one of these first 5 games or so, you should cruise at home, despite the fact that the Bears traditionally have given you problems in the past. Vikings win. They are 4-1, and everyone is now drinking purple Kool-Aid.
Wow. So I know how this goes with Vikings teams. When you get off to a hot start and then you think you got the lowly Bears coming in, it's just another easy win for the Vikings. I actually had the Vikings dropping this game. So they start hot. They start hot, and then they get a little too assured of themselves here. And the Bears come in and shock them and punch them in the face, a little piece of humble pie. And the Vikings lose what should be a easy win at home to the Bears. There's always 1 or 2 games at home
Who punches them,
that they
Dex?
should.
Who from the Bears is going to punch them?
They might beat themselves.
Okay.
They could beat themselves.
All right. Okay.
I could see it happening.
That's
So
good.
actually, my first loss will be a surprise when it'll be Bears at home.
All right.
Well, I don't know what Declan's drinking on this episode, but I'm drinking the same thing. I think
nice.
they lose to the Bears coming back from there's a reason why most of these London games historically have buys attached to them so that you can come back, get used to the travel, everything. This is going to be a game that everyone marks down as a win for the most part. But just think about all the conditions here. It's first of all, it's the first month. I think the first month could be rocky. Even Kirk Cousins was on the record sometime in the last week saying, I would have preferred to get some work in the preseason. I understand why we're doing it, to avoid injuries, etc. But it just kind of feels like there's going to be some hurdles to jump over for this new coaching staff and roster, and travel is going to be one of them here. So I have them losing, falling to 2-3 at Miami in week 6, the week before their bye.
This is a loss. In fact, I think this is the game going to play the Dolphins down there. This is the game where the trip to London, in my opinion, catches up to them. I think the Bears game, the Bears literally don't care. And the thing, too, is they'll come back. They're on a high.
The players care.
Yeah,
the
but
coaching staff cares.
Right, but they have assembled a team that probably couldn't win.
Justin Fields cares.
Well, he does care, but his team stinks. So anyway, I think that this is the game in the heat where those damn Dolphins are going to force the Vikings to wear their purple jerseys just so the heat catches them more and more and more. I think this game catches up as far as the extent of travel that they're going to have done 2 weeks earlier to London. Vikings lose. They're now 4-2.
So I have no idea if the Dolphins are going to be any good or not. I actually really like Mike McDaniel as a dude. I think he's an incredible guy. He's just like very philosophical. I have no idea if he has the chops to be an NFL football coach. I think he's actually like super smart, but he might be completely in over his head running a football team. I think he gets more out of Tua. I think Tua Tagovailoa does take a step forward. I actually have this as a loss too. And I can make a case that the Vikings being 4-2 at the bye is very plausible. How they get to be 4-2 is obviously up in the air since all of us kind of have different schedules going on a little bit right here. But I had them losing a game in Miami. It's 4-2 going into the bye.
Yeah, this is a character win for me. They go on the road. They lose the travel trap game against Chicago. They bounce back after a couple losses, and they know they got the bye week. KOC gets them focused for a road game, and it's a character win to salvage a 3-3 record going into the bye, which brings us to a Week 7 bye and then a home game against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 8.
So I think that with the changes in coaching staff and with where this roster is at, I think that this team is going to be very good at home. I think the Vikings are going to be. I think the fans grew. The fans and players both grew tired of Mike. I think that there is going to be a certain amount of just flat out rejuvenation with this team in home games. The Cardinals I don't love. I think the Cardinals might be bad. I can't decide. But just based on the fact that I think that the Vikings are going to be successful at US Bank Stadium, this is a win. They're now 5-2.
Real quick,
if
to
you-
jump in on the
yeah.
schedule, the home schedule is very, very, I wouldn't say like weak because it is the NFL, but I mean, they're going to be favored in a lot of home games. So I think your home game radar is correct here. Yes.
I believe the Packers are still favored at like 1.5, but if that line keeps moving and injuries keep piling up for the Packers, I wouldn't be shocked at all if by the time we get to like Friday, Saturday, that could just be a push. Like right now, the Packers are still favored, but it might be tracking that the Vikings could be then favored by the time kickoff rolls around. It wouldn't shock me either. So right now, the Vikings would have gone almost a whole month without a win in my schedule if you include the bye. So week 4 at London was their last win. And Kevin O'Connell talked about how his Rams went a month last season without a win and then still were Super Bowl champions. Wow. So with the bye, I think the same kind of history rewrites itself a little bit to a degree. They go a month without a win, and they get right against the Cardinals on October 30th in week 8.
This is a win for me as well. We all agree on this one. So you get an extra week to prepare. You rest up from the weird sort of first month and a half of the season. And Arizona just feels like a house of cards. There's tension. There's tension between the quarterback and the organization. They're like trying to incentivize him to study film. They were having him call plays during preseason games. It just, I don't know, man. It feels like they kind of blew their chance last year. And Cliff Kingsbury, we're not quite to the part of the schedule where Cliff Kingsbury, even going back to college, has his teams melt down. That's more like second half of November into December. But I think the Vikings win this game. One of the more intriguing games on the schedule is Week 9. Kirk Cousins returning to Washington for a road game against the Commanders.
So I think the question is this. Is this you like that game from Kirk in which he shoves it down their throats, or is this a Kirk game in which he sort of zones out by trying to do too much and struggles because he's trying to show the Commanders that they made a mistake? Because it's a road game, I'm going to go with the latter. This is a loss. I don't think that they get blown out. I don't think it's a terrible game, but I could definitely see Kirk trying to do too much here. And Carson Wentz is so weird. Like, he'll be good some weeks and then he'll come back and be terrible. But I'm going to go with Washington wins this game and the Vikings then fall to 5-3.
I do not buy Carson Wentz stock for any reason. I think the Vikings go into Washington and get a win. I think this is a road win for the Vikings. I think, yes, we might get a you like that kind of moment. That I would actually prefer that. I think it'd be awesome for Kirk to go in there and get that type of mojo win. So it's a win for me. The Vikings are 6-2 heading into Week 10.
Yeah, this is one of those where if Mike Zimmer was the coach and Kirk Cousins felt like he was on an island going into this game, I think it would be a problem.
Yep.
Based on the partnership, I think he and Kevin O'Connell will have, both going back to Washington because that's where they were together last time they were, coach and player. I think they find a way to beat a decidedly mediocre Washington team and a quarterback that you should be able to, if Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter are healthy, pressure into making a couple game-changing mistakes. So we're at the halfway point here. We're 8 games in to our schedule. I've got them 5-3. Declan, I think you have them 6-2, or do you have them 5-3? 6-2,
yes.
And Judd, you have them also at 5-3. And before we get into the second half of the schedule, let's welcome a brand new partner to the Purple Daily podcast here. Our new friends at Hail Ace. Tell them about Hail Ace, Dex.
Hail Ace Dent Repair in South St. Paul. Our guy Adam there, who's a big Vikings fan. This is a small business, so unlike big body shops and companies, there's little overhead to provide more savings and perks. So if you got some hail damage there, they have over 16 years of experience. They can help you remove with that hail damage, and it's zero cost to you. They'll save your deductible and provide rental cars too for rental reimbursements. They work with the insurance company. There was a lot of hail I know this spring. I know my girlfriend's mom's car got absolutely dented with hail. There was a lot of bad hail that happened. So if you want to get these dents out, go check out our friends at Hail Ace Dent Repair. And by the way, all customers that bring in their vehicle for repairs in the month of September and October will be entered in a drawing for a pair of late season Vikings tickets as well. So get your car fixed. Maybe get a little entry too for some Vikings games. Hail Ace Dent Repair in South St. Paul.
And also, hey, Prize Picks is the easy way to play daily fantasy. So it's very easy. You pick between 2 and 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And you can also mix and match sports because Prize Picks offers every major sport. Obviously, NFL is firing up here. We got college football. back in the mix. You got Twins games down the stretch here, looking to win a division. So you can sort of plug from different sports over the weekend if you want to, and run mixed sport entries, like take the over on Cousins for yardage and take the over on I don't know, if you think Aaron Judge is going to hit more bombs against the Twins or something, right? Use the promo code NORTH, and Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. So check out the Prize Picks app or the website, prizepicks.com, promo code NORTH. And we should also cheers to the football season, which is, we've grinded through 8 months of off season. It was a wildly fun, entertaining off season for a million reasons. But cheers to week 1, Judd.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, when you go to games this season, you got your beer choices, right? But you really only got one. And that is the Before I Die beer from our friends at Surly. A delicious beer with an awesome can that just really says what we all think, which is before we die. And the clock is ticking on me. You know, let's be frank about it.
You almost died 2 weeks ago.
I did. And yes, I did. And I told Dex when I turned 50, no guarantees of 60. So anyway, the point being is Surly is addressing the concerns we all have, which is, when are the Vikings going to win a championship? It has to be soon. But only our friends from Surly have said, you know what? We are going to put it in the most tasty form possible. Before I Die beer. Pick it up at the stadium, and it's also, as we've seen on Twitter from folks, it's also in liquor stores now as well. So among the delicious flavors from our friends at Surly Brewing, Before I Die is definitely one of them.
Let's clean them out, and I mean that in the most friendly, charming way. Let's clean out the cans of Before I Die at the stadium and in local liquor stores. And show us your cans by tweeting your photos at Judd on social. All right, boys. At Buffalo, week 10 here.
This is such a character game. So this is going to be incredibly tough. This game to me is going to very much, by this point too, because it's at the perfect time, define things. Like if you get blown out, it's going to be like, oh boy. If it's a close loss, you'll be like, okay. And if it's a win, it's impressive. I am going to go with a loss though. 5-4.
For my money, this is easily the toughest game on the Vikings schedule. You're going into a hostile environment. You're playing arguably the AFC favorites in the Buffalo Bills. It could be a statement game. I don't know if I go character game, Judd Zolgad. It could be a statement game for the Vikings if you get a big win in Buffalo. But right now, unless the Vikings are just tracking way even ahead of schedule, and I have them at 6-2 going into the game, I still think this is a loss. They drop to the Buffalo Bills.
I would love to see. I don't expect a win in this game because Buffalo might be the best team in the NFL. Buffalo is a year or two further down the path than you are. You're hoping to sort of emulate where Buffalo's at, where the Rams are at. Well, what I would like to see here is a shootout style, dramatic fourth quarter loss. Kind of like go back to 2018, Kirk's first year, where they went back and forth against the Packers. It was a tie. There was a shootout at one point against the Sean McVay Rams team that I think went to the Super Bowl that year and lost to the Patriots. So I'd love to see if you can get beat like 34-28 or something. Go back and forth with this team. But it is a loss.
And Kirk just balls out, man. Right? Yep. Kirk just completely. It's like, dude, that was awesome.
Maybe he throws a tight pass to JJ that gets picked late or something, like whatever.
That's
for 300.
My definition of character is right there. Show your character. Not your cans, your character.
Or both. You can show us both.
And then your cans after the game.
Okay, now the Vikings are coming back home here after back-to-back road games. That is the so I guess they do have 2 back-to-back road game situations because they end the year with back-to-back road games. But they get 3 straight home games, starting with Dallas in Week 11.
So for the first time since we started this exercise, I am going to change my prediction from our last schedule guess to this one, okay?
Wow.
So I previously said this was a loss. But you know what? Cowboys, I'm not really sold. Mike McCarthy, not sold for sure.
Buffoon.
I like Dak, but you can definitely, like, if you lost to Cooper Rush last year, like, let's have some pride. There's been some big changes, right? I'm changing my prediction from a Vikings loss to this time you beat the damn Cowboys at home. How about them Vikings?
Okay, Stephen A.
Yeah, we're going to get Judd on a boat the next day after the Vikings beat the Cowboys. Just it'll be kind of cold by then, but yeah.
That'd be great. So actually, I had the Vikings dropping this game. as well, even though they're back at home. I can make a case that probably the Vikings' toughest stretches is week 9 through week 11-ish time. They're on the road a lot. They have a short week 2 coming up against the Patriots, which is the game after the Cowboys. I also think by this time, Mike McCarthy is fired.
That's an early firing.
I think, and they have a tough start. I mean, there's a very good case they might only win 1 game in their first 4 of the season. I think Mike McCarthy's done by this time. You get a rejuvenated Cowboys team. I know it might be Dan Quinn. I still think it's Kellen Moore. I think you have a rejuvenated Cowboys team after firing Mike McCarthy. You drop 1 at home, 6-4.
So Judd has it as a win. You have it as a loss. Okay.
I have it as a loss.
Yeah.
Okay. I have it as a win for all the reasons Judd said. I just think I think the Cowboys are competitive, but you got the owner coming out. They lost more key pieces than they gained, and you got the owner coming out who's putting Super Bowl expectations on this thing. It's like it's been 25 years. You guys are just trying to will a Super Bowl. You're not that good. Zeke Elliott's not the same guy he was a few years ago. They don't have the same. I do think CeeDee Lamb is a stud. And he's going to emerge and take another step forward this year. And I actually think Dak is one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. But I think the Vikings beat the Cowboys here. And a lot of those veterans remember what happened on Sunday night, national TV against Cooper Rush. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of last season. And the Eric Kendricks of the world are going to remember what happened. So I got it as a win. And then a short week, they get the primetime Thanksgiving slot against the New England Patriots.
I don't love the Patriots, but here's my problem. It's a short week. It's O'Connell against his former boss, Belichick. I have seen coaches with a lot more experience than KOC go up against Billy Boy, and they are tight the entire week. Belichick, like this to me, plays into a Belichick type of game. So I've got this as a loss. I don't think that the stars are aligned correctly playing 4 days after you beat Dallas at home, despite the fact it's still at home. I don't think the stars are aligned for a win here. So I've got a loss, the Vikings falling to 6-5.
I love that the NFL gave the Vikings a home game on Thanksgiving night.
Oh, God, yeah.
I just absolutely love that. I can have a great Thanksgiving day.
You could pass out for like 3 hours and then just wake up
I
for
could
the game.
endure, at least a 2-hour nap, which will 100% happen, roll over, crack another one, and then at 7 o'clock, it's time to play some more football. I had the Vikings winning this game. Yes, Bill Belichick, obviously the GOAT, the best coach of all time, but I think his surrounding things are starting to crumble a little bit. You got Matt Patricia calling plays now. Mac Jones, I'm not sold on yet either. The Patriots are the Patriots with Bill Belichick, but I don't think they're obviously not as who they used to be. I think this is a win at home for the Vikings. They go with the 7-4.
It's so hard to figure out the Patriots. They always find a way to be somewhat competitive. I think the Vikings find a way to lose this game. There's just something about short week. I struggle to see them winning all 3 of ththese home games, and I'm also trying to figure out a way here. It's like, my first instinct is, look at all these easy home games. Boy, they're just going to go 8-1 or 9-0 at home. Well, they're not going to go 9-0 or 8-1, I don't think, at home. So part of my philosophy here is I got to find a couple home losses on this schedule.
Yes.
And this seems like it's a tough spot. You're coming off of a win potentially against Dallas after playing 2 road games. It's a short week. Is this a game where like Bill Belichick's defense finds a way to grind out, a 17-14 win or something? And he finds a way to fluster Kirk Cousins up the middle. Maybe this is the last hurrah for Garrett Bradbury or something. I don't know, but I have it as a loss. And then you get the Jets, extra 3 days of rest, Jets at home in Week 13, Judd.
This is a win. The Jets, I think should be improved, but they are certainly not going to be, in my opinion, good. If this game was in New Jersey, I might pick the Jets for an potential upset there. But I think with this game being, again, the Vikings' 3rd consecutive home game, and after the loss, and now with extra prep time, I have the Vikings beating the Jets to go to 7-5.
Even though I made the case, too, that it's a tough stretch between weeks 9 and 12, I don't see the Vikings dropping 2 out of 3 of the home games in week 11, 12, and 13. And the Jets, I don't buy it for a minute. I like Zach Wilson. I liked him coming out of college, but I think they're still a year, maybe years away from returning to contention. It's a win at home against the Jets.
I have it as a win as well. The Jets are terrible. The Vikings have an extra few days. It is a get-right home game at noon on CBS, probably, right? CBS. All right.
Hello,
Week
friends.
14 at Detroit. It's hard to tell what Detroit's going to be like this season and
Right.
what they're going to be like in Week 14, but take a stab, Judd.
So if I'm going to play along that the Dan Campbell-led Detroit Lions are going to be an improved team, I still have trouble in Week 3 having them upset the Vikings here. But I am going to say this is a loss because if Detroit is going to be improved, you're now into Week 14 at Detroit. Like if the Lions are ever going to beat you, it's probably there at that point in time. So after taking 2 of 3 in a long 3-game homestand, the Vikings go to Detroit and they lose that game.
Yeah, if it's a toss-up between trying to figure out what they're going to be, I think Detroit's probably in prime position here to get a win at home. I love Man Campbell. I think he's a hilariously awesome head coach for the Lions. He's very much a Lions head coach. Like I don't think that shtick would work in a lot of other cities and markets, but it works with Detroit. I think the Vikings drop one. They drop one to Detroit, and they go to 8-5 in my schedule.
So I've done some soul searching here, and I feel like the entire offseason I've just assumed they're gonna. Well, don't sleep on the Lions. Don't sleep on the Lions. The Lions are, they're gonna be more competitive. They beat the Vikings last year. They probably should have beat the Vikings twice last year. And so I've been the whole time, like every time we've picked the schedule, I've had them losing to the Lions at some point. But you know what? The Lions aren't going to be that good. The Lions are one of the worst franchises in professional sports history, and Jared Goff is their quarterback still. So, we can find ways to justify, well, the Lions might be feisty or the Lions might be better than you think. They're still like a 5-win team. So, I've got the Vikings beating the Lions in this game and sweeping the season series. I'm not saying they're going to be blowout games, but I do think they take care of business twice against the Lions. And that brings us to back-to-back home games here, the last 2 home games of the season, Week 15 against the Colts.
So this is the second game since we last picked the schedule in which I have pivoted and changed. And I do think that the Vikings are going to take advantage of a home schedule that is at the very least favorable. And I also think that there is going to be a renewed optimism just in the building itself. Like because of Mike last year and the team wasn't that good and the Kirk thing didn't work, it all felt very stale. Like the Cowboys lost. It felt they almost blew the Steelers game. It felt stale. I think we're going to experience with O'Connell and Cousins certainly being given what I would call a breath of fresh air. I think we're going to experience a team that's going to be very good at home. So I pivoted. I originally called this a loss, but now I think the Vikings beat the Colts and Matt Ryan in a game where, again, too, the most important thing here is, does your defense stay healthy? But if so, I think they fluster Matty Ice, and I think they beat the Colts.
Wow.
I love Matt Ryan from 5-6 years ago. I don't love him as much anymore. Also, this game's TBD in terms of a time slot. There's no time yet for this game. It's December 18th. So I don't know if it's going to be a primetime game. I don't know if it's game of the week. I don't know where it's going to be flexed to.
This is a noon game.
But probably should be a noon game.
Oh,
Is it
no!
Sunday night?
Mike Tirico.
Two Midwest teams.
I have it a win at home, though. Regardless of the time slot, I think the Vikings win against the Matt Ryan-led Colts. They go to 9-5 with 3 games to play.
It's a win, and the Vikings are getting hot on my schedule. 3 straight wins. Another home victory here. The Colts are very competitive. They will probably be fighting for their playoff lives in a deep and contested American football conference. But the Vikings are also trying to do the same thing in the National Football Conference here. So this is a win for the Vikings. And then we get to Week 16, the last home game of the season here against the New York Football Giants.
All right, I'm probably pressing my luck here again. But Daniel Jones is probably going to start, right?
Maybe Jacoby Brissett. I don't know.
I can't buy Giant stock. I just can't. Like, I can't buy Jet stock. I can't buy Giant stock. The Vikings win this game. They are now 9-6. They are now 9.
Tyrod Taylor is their backup.
Well,
yeah.
Brissett is with Cleveland.
Cleveland.
But anyway, the point is, I'm like trying to look at these home games and think, okay, here comes a curveball, right? Like here comes a Dallas. And the more I look, I'm just not impressed. Now, by this point in time, which is week 16, things might have changed entirely, but I don't see it. So 9-6, the Vikings win. The Vikings are going to be, in my estimation, a very, very good home team this season.
Yeah, it's a win for me. I don't mind Brian Daboll. I think they're gearing up for next season to draft a quarterback high, and then maybe that changes the trajectory of where the Giants could be, years from now. But the Giants are going to be a mess in 2022. It's a win for the Vikings.
Yeah, it's a win for me too, which closes out for me a 7-2 home schedule.
Yeah,
and there's definitely ways to figure them for like 8-1. 9-0 is aggressive, but because they're not gonna run the table at home, but I've got them winning this game and 7-2 at home, which brings us to the last 2 weeks of the season. We'll start with at Green Bay, Lambeau Field, January, week 17.
New Year's Day.
Division on the line with the records that we have here.
Yeah. This is a loss. I can't get to a very simple place, and that is a Viking sweep. Like a sweep of the Packers would be unbelievable. I can't get there. I do think that they're going to come out of the gate on Sunday hot and win. So I would say going to play in Green Bay week 17 will be very, very tough. I predict a Vikings loss there.
So right now the Vikings are 10-5 heading into Lambeau Field in my mock schedule pick here. I think the NFC North is decided in this game at Lambeau Field on New Year's Day. And the Vikings beat the Packers, and they secure the NFC North.
Wow.
They go to 11-5. Should I write it down?
I think all of these, like the records that we predict, are for sure part of write that down.
Yeah,
we agree on that.
Right.
The record we land on
That's
here,
right.
let's put those on write that down for sure. Yeah. And then if you want to make tomorrow like a division prediction, you definitely.
But yeah, I think at this point you're 11-5. You're in cruise control. The Packers are probably also obviously breathing down your necks, but I think the division is wrapped up by the time this game finishes, and it's the Vikings on top, and they win the NFC North for the first time since 2017.
So I have this as a loss because I'm with Judd, and that I can't get to a sweep of the Packers quite yet. Can't get there quite yet. But I have them 10-5 going into this game, which means I've got them now 10-6. And I don't know that this loss necessarily decides the division. Maybe they both go in 10-5. Right. Maybe the Vikings are a game up or something. This would be a split of the season series, and then it comes down to division record and then conference records. There's all sorts of tiebreakers in play here. So I think you lose and then maybe still have a chance at the division in week 18. So let's get to week 18 here at the Chicago Bears.
This is going to be a great game to predict because it's going to be a very rare game at Chicago in week 18 in which the Bears will be playing a warm weather game. And now you're saying, how is that possible? Because they're going to be on a golf course mentally in Arizona playing golf. This team's going to stink. Like I will be, if the Bears win more than 5 games, color me absolutely shocked. The Bears will have checked out so hard by this game that they will not give a damn. The Vikings would have to work to lose this game. The Vikings win, and I think it's just a easy win, and the Bears don't care. And that goes, not just the players by this point, that goes to Ryan Poles, their GM. Everybody has bailed by this point. So I have the Vikings finishing a very competitive 10-7.
10-7 for the Vikes. All right, so if the Vikings have the North wrapped up at 11-5, they probably don't have the number 1 locked up. And there could be a case that maybe they're playing for the number 1, but I think you probably got to be with 13 wins to have it locked up with the number 1 seed, right? So I think they probably see as the number 1 seed is out of reach, or it's just not mathematically possible. They have the North wrapped up. They're probably going to be the 3rd, maybe even the 2nd seed. But they rest their starters, and it's a Nick Mullins game, and the Vikings lose. Because at this point, I don't think it doesn't matter. I think it's a Nick Mullins-led game. The Vikings are gearing up for the wild card weekend. They finish 11-6 in my final schedule prediction.
And I have them playing for potentially the division still, despite losing to Green Bay in Week 17, that there might be division tiebreakers here. So I have them playing starters against Chicago and winning that game because I have them losing at home to Chicago early in the season, so it's going to be stuck in their minds, and they will win decisively over Chicago in a very cold and windy game. This might be one of those like Dalvin Cook gets 29 carries for $170 or something, just ground and pound that Chicago Bears defense. So I've got them winning and finishing 11-6 on the season. So I'm with Declan on this one. I think they get to 11 wins. So 11-6, 11-6, and 10-7.
Yep.
For the three of us here on Purple Daily.
All extremely competitive.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we can talk more about this throughout the week, but that would be a pretty wildly successful first season for Kevin O'Connell, right? Take over something that literally hasn't been above 500 in 1,000 days.
Yep.
And move it forward into double-digit wins or 11 wins and maybe even a division title, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe another step possible in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And I think I have them with, if I'm not mistaken, 1 home loss the entire year.
Wow. So you have them 8-1 at home, but
yeah.
2-6 neutral site or road. And that's kind of how the schedule works out, too. It's like they have Philadelphia might win the division, road game, Buffalo, road game, Green. Like there's some really tough road games on the schedule. New Orleans is a neutral site. It's hard not to get them to like 6, 7, 8 home wins.
It really is.
I had a Event Line guest on a few weeks ago, and he kind of brought up the fact that, all right, if the Vikings can win 7 games at home, they take 7 and 9, can you find 4 road wins? Which then obviously would get them right to the 11 win mark. So it kind of reminds me of like when I was in school and I knew I had to get this grade on the final to get this final grade, right? So I'm going to study this amount because if I get in this percentile, I'm going to be A-okay. It's kind of similar to what the Vikings are trying to do here, that if they can get to 7 home wins, can you piecemeal 4 road wins somewhere on the schedule?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, so, all right, you got at Detroit, at Chicago, you're going to be favored in those games. You should be favored probably at Washington, so there's a way to piecemeal that too. Very interesting. Before the show wraps, we should get to what are people saying about the Vikings, because a very prominent national NFL writer is very high on the Vikings with a write-up here. But it's been a year that Judd has been working with Livia. The first part of that year was losing a bunch of weight. The second part was keeping it off, and he looks like a new man for this 2022 football season. It's
worked great, and look, it's worked so well that I have friends and family joining as well. Dawn joined, 16 pounds down. Chris Ron, the man who sold the original spot for this show, came to me and said, I'm going to join too. His first week down 6+ pounds. Livia works, and right now, a new offer, 8 weeks for free. 8 weeks for free. That's right. Imagine the ability, how much weight can be dropped in those first 8 weeks. 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com. LIVEA, Livia.com. Check it out now. That is your first step towards all of those clothes starting to fit great. And again, as Phil said, the most important thing is you don't just drop the weight, but you keep the weight off. Livia, LIVEA.com.
Also, a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. So their corporate culture is grounded in equity, integrity, teamwork, and respect. And these 4 cornerstones create the foundation that supports all interactions and decision making. And they apply all of this to your business when you partner with Federated. Find out how Federated has been helping businesses maximize their level of success through risk management tools and resources over 100+ years of experience. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. What are people saying about the Vikings? So Peter King's NFL preview just dropped here in the last couple days on Football Morning in America. I think it's part of the Pro Football Talk platform now. Mm-hmm. And here are his NFC playoff teams. He's actually really high on the Saints. He has the Saints as the number 1 seed in the NFC, 12-5. He says the Saints have beaten Tom Brady's Bucs in all 4 regular season meetings the last 2 years, and none of the 4 has been a 1-score game. So in the division, they have that advantage. He's got the Packers at 12-5, winning the division. Mm-hmm. And then the Eagles winning the NFC East at 11-6. The Rams winning the NFC West at 10-7. And then his 3 wildcard teams are the 11-6 Minnesota Vikings, as the 5 seed. Is this the year Eric Kendricks finally gets credit for being a top 5 NFL linebacker, is what he poses here. The Buccaneers at 10-7 as a wild card team, and then the San Francisco 49ers at 10-7 also as a wild card team. In the playoffs, he has the Vikings losing to the Rams in the wild card round. So 11-6, but then having to go on the road to Los Angeles.
See, against the mentor.
That would be a fun matchup, wouldn't it?
That would be great.
And then Sean McVay says, I taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything I know.
Yeah,
And the Rams
exactly
wind up
right. We're going to run jet motion orbit.
Right up your keister. And then he's got, in the Super Bowl, he's got the Bills beating the Packers, specifically 30-23. So he's got the Packers despite having no wide receivers going to the Super Bowl. For Offensive Player of the Year, he's got Justin Jefferson third behind Jonathan Taylor and Josh Allen. And then there's a separate write-up here from Peter King about the Vikings specifically. A new day in Minnesota. It was shocking to see the new boom of GM Kwesi Broom sweep so clean in the building this roster. 7 of predecessor Rick Spielman's 11 draft picks from 2021 are gone, including 3 third-round picks and presumptive strong quarterback prospect Kellen Mond. Mond was picked 1 slot ahead of Davis Mills. Mond's history and Mills, I'm just going to skip past this part. In addition, 12 other players on Spielman's 2021 roster were let go by the new regime. But if the Vikings enter the season with Kirk Cousins, Christian Darrisaw, and the top 6 skill position players, and he lists them all, imported by Spielman. So there is something to be said for the previous regime's acumen for building playoff contending offensive pieces. One GM on the Vikings purged to me last week said, quote, no team has had more draft picks than Minnesota in recent years, and now way more than half of them are gone. They're putting a lot of trust in Kwesi over there. So Peter King is generally high on Kwesi and what the Vikings are building here, having them at 11-6.
I cannot in any way, shape, or form get the Packers to the Super Bowl. I can't do that.
I mean, their defense still has a lot of good pieces. If Bakhtiari is back, there's the core of that team is still very, very strong.
It does, but they've shown us. I mean, I think LaFleur, if I'm not mistaken, is 13-3 3 consecutive years, and they find a way not to go.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely failed. I think people are too quick to write them off and say, "Oh, Devontae Adams is gone."
I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying, as far as the representative from this conference to the Super Bowl, I struggle with that. No, I don't. I think they'll be good. I just don't think they're a Super Bowl team.
Yeah. Well, later in the week we can do we can all make our 14 playoff team predictions and Super Bowl and stuff like that. But the NFC there's not really the Rams. Until proven otherwise, the Rams are the team to beat.
I love the West. I do love the West.
Yeah. With San Francisco. But again, San Francisco is starting a quarterback who's barely played in college, for God's sakes.
True. Well, but they got a backup now who they can plug back in.
Super weird.
I think they might do exactly that, too.
So there it is. That's what we got for you. We got the Vikings at either 10 or 11 wins, depending on which hooligan on this show you believe. You can't win a Super Bowl unless you get to double-digit wins, it would seem. There's been a couple examples, but the first step is dominating the regular season. So, all right, that's a wrap on today's episode of Purple Daily. Tomorrow, our Write That Down predictions and accountability session, State of the Offense on Thursday. And be sure to check out Vikings Vent Line right after the Vikings-Packers game ends on the Purple Daily YouTube channel.